Check one. Oh,
Thinking.
we're on the 10-second before they go live, but they can hear us now.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening. Welcome.
Evening, buddy.
I am here with one Aphrael Piloson, who after my last Firebuilding 101 session told me I did everything wrong, and he's here to mansplain it all to me.
No. Everything's right, but there's more detail. There's more detail available.
What are you, like a chemical engineer or something like that?
Something like that.
Something like that. Okay, so he's going to get all of the science that big government's not going to tell you about here. That's right. This is going to be the TLC's first annual Maha campfire.
Make America healthy again.
With more carbon in your atmosphere. All right, let's get to it, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if I can do this with that. Okay, all right. So I got the camera facing you. And that's yours. Yeah.
So we'll start where we left off last time. What are the three elements of the fire triangle?
Okay, it took me a minute to remember this. So 3 elements of the fire triangle. You need oxygen,
okay.
You need heat, okay. And you need fuel.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into a little bit more depth with each one of those. And we'll start with fuel because that's probably going to be the easiest to sort of figure out, or to understand what it is that we're talking about. So there are 3 kinds of fuel that are broadly understood when you're doing fire making. You have, let me start with fuel, because fuel is going to be the easiest to understand. So
I have to ask, how do you want this played?
Whatever. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's okay.
Well,
okay. So fuel is big logs like this. So this allows you to just have a solid chunk of something burning for a prolonged period of time, but you can't light a fire with just fuel. And so what you need to do in order to start a fire is you need something called tinder, which is a lightweight material. This is just like a little cardboard meshy bit that's meshed more to provide packing material for something. But this will let you start a fire very quickly and easily, but it also burns out very fast. And so you can't just start a fire with tinder. You have to have kindling, which is any material that's like pinky to thumb width-ish. And then you can slowly add this onto the fire once you've started it with the tinder. And then once you've built up enough burning kindling, then you can start adding fuel on top. The other thing that I want to touch on with fuel, so when you're burning wood, why is it that wood has a flame and charcoal doesn't as much?
I used to know this.
Throw it on the
ground. I'm guessing this has something to do with the chemical composition of the two things. Is that what I'm getting at?
Partly, yes.
Partly, has something to do with moisture?
Not so much moisture. So when wood burns, it's not what's happening is that there is a chemical reaction that's happening with the oxygen, where it's the typical this is reacting and forming carbon dioxide and water vapor. But the thing that's also happening when you have wood burning is that the heat at the exterior of it is actually doing a chemical process called pyrolysis. So it's taking the lignin and other stuff that's in the wood, and it's transforming it into what's called wood gas, which is methane, carbon monoxide, a whole bunch of small, very flammable gases that are coming out from the wood. And then those, because they're already hot, ignite on contact with air. And so the fire, the visible flame that you're seeing is actually the wood gas that's coming out from the wood that's then igniting when it contacts the air.
Okay, so it's the gas that's escaping from the wood that's causing the flame.
Right. So that's why charcoal doesn't look as like it's burning in the same way that wood looks like it's burning, because the charcoal's not letting off the wood gas in the same way. The flame that you see that's coming off of charcoal is just the hot gases that are being expelled from it. There's not as much stuff that's burning as it's coming into contact with the air.
Mhm.
So
Is that why we prefer to use charcoal for cooking? Because you get more kind of like
because you don't get the flame.
right. So the heat is more regular. It's more condensed.
Yes. Well, it's more regular. I wouldn't necessarily say more condensed, but it's more
Okay.
regular. Which brings us to the next thing.
Oh,
And I'm not reaching for a tool. I'm just reaching for a drink.
no, this is kerosene he is drinking right here. It's important to have accelerants when you're building
I'm
fires.
being fueled right now. So the next thing to talk about is heat. So do you know what the 3 ways that heat transfers are?
No.
Okay. So the three ways that there's 3 methods of heat transfer, and that is conductive, convective, and radiative. So conductive is I have a hot thing, I have a cold thing, I touch them together, and the heat goes from the hot thing to the cold thing.
Mm-hmm.
Convective is when I have hot gas that's being generated by something, and it's moving, and it moves past something else that's cooler than it, and as a consequence, it's heating up by transferring the heat from one place to another place to heat something else.
I feel like, am I correct in saying this is how like a smoker works when you're making ribs?
Yes.
Excellent.
So you're starting the heat at the one part of the smoker, and it transfers into the other part of the smoker. The last part is a little bit tricky to understand, and I'll do my best to bring it to 201 level and not have it be like chemical engineering level. Radiative heat transfer, it comes from something that's referred to as black body radiation, which is a name that I think doesn't do a great job of actually explaining what it is that it's talking about.
I believe Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote about this 10 years ago.
Did he? Okay. Okay.
Oh no, he's just in his anti-racist books. Like to use
a black body.
like to use the phrase. This is talking about black people. Talked about black bodies.
Oh man.
Anyway,
so I'll explain what it is, and then I'll explain why it's called that after I explain what it is. So when scientists in like late 1800s, early 19, or actually no, it would have been like mid 1800s, I think. Someone have to fact check me on that. They were trying to understand why hot things were hot. So like if I have a fire, right? It's not just about the hot air that's rising, right? If I stand next to a fire, I'm getting heat that's projected at me. And so they were trying to understand why that is. And what it turns out is that the vibrations of the molecules or atoms that are part of whatever it is that you're looking at, they are constantly throwing off radiation, not like X-rays or anything, but like light. And they are constantly and this is happening literally with everything that's around you. So when you have something that's really hot, it makes itself really obvious that those vibrations, because you can feel it. It's a little less obvious when you're just standing in the world. But everything around me is radiating some amount of heat at me, and I'm radiating some amount of heat back at it.
everything the light touches is our kingdom.
Mm-hmm. So what they eventually figured out was that if you are measuring the temperature of something, then the amount of energy that it radiates is proportional to temperature to the 4th power. So if something is even a little bit hotter, and especially as you go up in temperature, it starts to make a huge difference in terms of how much energy is being transferred between two things. So if I have, say, 2 metal sheets that are separated by a vacuum, and this one's 1,000 Kelvin and this one's 100 Kelvin, there's going to be a ton of energy going this way and not very much energy going this way. And so over time, they'll either equalize, or if you have something that's actively heating this one and cooling this one, then however that ends up working out. But that's kind of the thought experiment that you go through in chemical engineering, is like, I have these 2 things next to each other. What's the rate of heat transfer between them based off of those kinds of formulas? So, and that's again, it's one of the harder parts to try and teach the outside of having that heat transfer understanding.
Mhm.
So, and then like one last note with that, based like what if you, I wanted to have this as a teaching aid, but I wasn't able to get it because I thought we had one in our office and we didn't. There's something that is called an infrared temperature gun. And so what it's doing is it's measuring the amount of light in the infrared spectrum that hits it. And it's able to tell you what the temperature of a certain thing is based off of the amount of infrared light that's hitting it. And so you can shoot it at different things. You can shoot it at the tree, you can shoot it at the grass, you can shoot it at other people. And so most of the environment is going to be pretty close to whatever the atmospheric temperature is. If you shoot it at a human, they're probably going to be pretty close to 98.6 or something between that and the atmospheric temperature. What do you think it would say if you pointed it at the sky?
I don't know, because I don't know when it would stop and bounce back, like what it would hit. Would it just go to 0, or?
It doesn't quite go to 0 Kelvin, because what you're essentially measuring is how much energy is being re-radiated back down to us by the atmosphere above us.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out it's not very much. If you point it at the sun is very hot, but even on a clear day, if you point it up at the blue sky, it'll be like -20, -30 Celsius. So the sky is very cold. And especially at night, it gets even colder because like you have the blue light that's coming at you from a day sky,
Mm-hmm.
but that's being absorbed, but it's not nearly as potent as just like the light that's coming directly from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
The one exception to that I'll say is like if you have clouds covering over, the clouds will be much, much warmer. And that's why if you have a cloudy evening night, then it's much warmer than a crystal clear night. Mm-hmm. Because on a cloudy night, what's happening is the light or the energy from the ground is being reflected back down to the ground by the clouds.
Yes.
But on a clear night, that energy is going straight up into the sky.
Yes.
There's nothing stopping it.
This is why in December, when you get a nice clear sky for some amazing stargazing out in the Pacific Northwest, you enjoy it for about 2 minutes before you barrel inside because it's unbearable.
So the thing with building fires, bringing it back to what we're talking about, all three of those come into play. So when you are talking about fuel, the reason why fuel, you can't just light a fire on the side of a log and have it catch, is because this log has a ton of heat capacity. So if you're making it hot on the side of it, that heat is being absorbed into the wood. Mm-hmm. And so what you have to do is you have to get the wood hot enough, the whole wood hot enough, or at least part of it, to where it starts to have that pyrolysis reaction, mm-hmm. and to where it starts to get up to a temperature like that you're putting enough heat into it that this starts burning before all of the heat gets absorbed by the rest of the log. And so that's why you start out with tinder. It's because this has very low heat capacity. Mm-hmm. So you start burning this and it can instantly catch. And then once you do that, you move on to kindling. And then the last piece is the oxygen. And so that is there's not too much with that, but basically what you want to try and do is you want to try and leave the bottoms of your fire open in a way that allows the convective force of the fire. So like the heat is going to naturally want to make air rise through whatever the fire is. And so when you're doing that, you want to leave the bottoms open so that more air gets sucked in, can react with the rest of the fire, and then get pulled up through once the oxygen's been used up. So you want to pan over into here. Yes. The way that we do that with this little firebox is we have rows of bricks that are set over other rows of bricks, and that lets air come up from the holes in the side, whichever way you want to go with it.
Yeah, we'll just get a little closer to see. First off, you can see a hole between the bricks right here, which are going to create airflow, correct?
Mm-hmm. And so the air is coming in under this way,
there you go,
and then up through the cracks.
Okay, so the air goes in through here,
mm-hmm.
and then up to there beneath our fire,
mm-hmm.
once we start building it into here.
Yeah. And so the other part of it is that once we start building the fire in here, these bricks are at atmospheric temperature.
Mhm.
So they are pretty cold, and they're going to absorb a ton of heat as we start this fire. And so you have to keep that in mind if you're building a fire inside of something else, that something else is going to steal away a bunch of the heat. And so you have to build something that generates enough heat that it's not just heating the wood to generate more fire, but it's also heating the container. And then once the container's hot, the container can actually re-radiate the heat back into the fire and help it to sustain itself.
So just ask the question here, like, so if these bricks were not here, it would not take nearly as much to get our fire started. Is that correct?
Potentially not. But the problem is that even if you are lighting a fire in like a fire pit at a campsite, there's still the ground to contend with.
Right.
And so you have to heat the ground, even if you are in like a, And so that's the way that the ground gets heated up is the ground heats up and the heat moves through it like that. Like it goes down into the ground and then it goes out and then it comes back up.
Gotcha. And the thing is, like, once our little container gets heated up, then it's going to essentially like keep our fire going for much longer.
Correct. Because it's re-radiating that heat back in on the wood itself.
Gotcha.
That's why, like, once you get a wood stove going, then you can like just put more logs into it without having to worry about it too much, is because the stove's heat is helping to bring that log up to temperature and then get it going again. So,
sweet.
Well, shall we get going?
Cheers.
Cheers.
We should also point out today's firewood is brought to us by Jonathan Demir and Joe Cross,
of course,
who chopped so much of this up for us during the estuary road trip last August.
And then one other thing, so we'll get this fire going, and then we'll do another little fun thing for if other folks want to do fire making exercises at a camp out in the future. There's a fun little exercise that I learned from Boy Scouts.
Don't say anything illegal.
No, it's nothing.
Nope.
Illegal.
Nope.
I promise there's nothing illegal.
All
right. So,
not that you could do anything illegal with the sorts of things we're doing. This is all above board. This is
the one thing I will say is
the
that
wood, the grass, all of this is perfectly licit.
Certain campsites get a little weird about bringing wood from outside into the campsite, but really just in their rules, we've never had an issue as far as bringing wood that wasn't supposed to be burned there.
Usually campsites have an issue with taking or like foraging wood from their campsite.
Yes, but technically speaking, Washington campsites, and so Washington campsites, you're technically not supposed to bring wood in. You're supposed to buy wood at the station.
Oh, okay.
But I've never had anybody talk to us about it. So just don't just have a giant trailer full of wood that you're burning, and I don't think anybody's going to bother you.
Follow the rules. Be good boys.
So,
don't be a farm fresh butt nugget. Don't be a farm. Get backwards.
So this wood's a little damp because it was raining a ton earlier, and I didn't get this particular bunch out from under the rain. What we're going to try and do is I'm going to try and light it a little bit more properly, because usually what I do is I just stuff a bunch of logs in here and then just let it go. But we'll try and do it a little bit more by the book to set a good example. So we have a bunch of kindling down in the bottom, and then we're going to tear off some tinder. And the other reason that you use tinder is that, like, having a lighter like this, that's super easy to light.
Yes.
But if you are using like a fire plow, which is one stick that you are plowing across a bit of wood, like from the movie Castaway, that's a fire plow. Another piece of technology that you can use is called a bow drill, where you have a slightly curved piece of wood that you tie a string that loops around another piece of wood, and then you hold it in place and you go back and forth, and that generates friction, and then that starts a fire. Or you can have a flint and steel where you are.
Oh yeah. Those are fun to play with.
They are fun to play with, and so you need something. You need something that's really dry and can catch really easily.
Yes.
For those kinds of things. That's one of the main purposes of tinder, is you need something that catches really easily. For something like this, it doesn't matter as much, but it's a lot easier to start it with tinder and then move to kindling rather than trying to light the kindling directly. So here we go. And I might add a little bit more tinder as we do this. You let it, it's a little damp. So we let that go. Start going. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? So we're going to get the tinder going first, and then we have a bed of relatively dry kindling underneath of it. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to slowly add more tinder on top of that kindling.
And this is, again, like the really, really important moment, because we are trying to build up the kindling, and the trick is to make sure there's enough airways that we're not smothering
Exactly.
the fuel as it's heating up. So this is, I mean, this stage of fire building is obvious, is definitely where it is at its most fragile, at its or fire's at its most fragile. That's where things can go most wrong. So yeah, especially if you're kind of like new to like building your own fire, yeah, don't be too bummed out if this takes a couple of goes.
Yeah. The Boy Scout standard is that you should be able to light a fire with a single match. So there's a little bit more in terms of how you construct the fire that can help you be more successful in that. But for this purpose, we're just kind of playing around with it. Most people who are going to be doing this as part of an estuary camp out, I would hope that you have a lighter available to you.
Yeah, you should. Don't be dumb. It's not a pissing contest. Don't be a farm fresh butt nugget.
Is that going to be a thing? Or are we making that a corner thing?
You are the guy who's got it literally plastered on your shed.
I do. Well,
yep. See, look, we've gone and have we smothered it?
So the way to help it kind of come back up is you just breathe on it slightly. And this is providing oxygen. But you want to be really gentle about it, and I don't think I'm going to get it, so we're just going to help it along a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just going to start doing just tinder. See if that helps it go.
So yeah, step one, especially if you're kind of new to the fire building, is just get like general competency with building a fire going. Then you can worry about the Boy Scout nonsense of like one match, one fire. And hey, that sounds like a fun game to play.
Well, there's another fun game that we'll be talking about here in just a second once I get this one going.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if McMo is calling us blowhards or if he is declaring himself a blowhard.
Probably calling us, but it's fun to imply that he's calling himself a blowhard.
I think it's one of those game recognized brick game. The problem is the whole kind of like brick mechanism, so you can't quite get it from the side.
Yeah.
So again, like with all these different like fire building structures, there's trade-offs to how you want to do things.
Yep.
And so once we get these bricks good and warm, it's
game on.
Game on. Let's see. I'm just gonna double check. Yep, fire's still hot. Right. Oh.
It's really not cooperating.
Well, it is raining all day today.
It was. Let me grab some material.
Somebody told me today where we went from 80 degrees and I was swimming in rivers on Tuesday to 58 degrees and rainy. It is officially January in the Pacific Northwest. See, we've got wood that's not being consumed all of the time. It's just more or less what wood does. The is not consumed. That'd be pretty legit. Yeah. Once again, for all of you latecomers, you are looking at all of the hard work that has been produced by the Estuary Road Trip Boys, Jonathan Demir and Joe Cross. So if you allow them to invade your house, they'll do some choring for you. They're good lads.
All right. So cardboard.
Not very good fishing buddies, though, I gotta say. We caught nothing that day. And it wasn't my fault for once.
Cardboard is a really good material if it decides to light for me. It's kind of a combination between tinder and kindling, where it's really easy to light, and it provides solid start to a fire. It's typically what I'll use for starting fires in my fireplace.
Look at McMo with all the good advice for a guy who, from my understanding, is pretty much done with camping. Every time I'm like, yeah, let's go camping, and all of the places that he may or may not live, and he's like, no, I don't do that anymore. I like beds. Although we did share an Airbnb recently, he was the guy who graciously took the couch instead of the bed, even though it was fully an offer to him. But yeah, it is correct. Since we are officially, what is today? Saturday. So we are 6 days away from the Greater Regional Ingression Protocol. So if you are planning to be in charge of your fire, now would be a good time to make sure you both have wood and you're keeping it covered and keeping it dry so that you're not running into the soggy nonsense we're having to deal with right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. See, once again, it takes a little bit more compared to the tinder for the cardboard to light.
So as I'm adding the kindling on top, I'm gonna smother the parts of the fire that it goes on top of, but the parts that go around it are helping to heat it up. And so you want to make sure that as you're putting stuff on, you're not removing too much of the oxygen, but you want to be slowly adding stuff as you go. Yeah. So now I'm gonna put a little bit more cardboard on top. That'll help it go.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure how well you can see based off of the screen, but we've got see if the cardboard that's right there and just the fire all around it, it's going to heat up the whole thing. So when you get the whole thing heated up.
And then leaving a gap for air between.
Yep. So one hand, this feels good, but also again, right now, this is mostly cardboard and light kindling. So it feels great right now. Oh, what? Can I just? This. Yep. Oh, there we go. Good call. See, I'm a tall man. I got to have my portrait mode. You got to get the full beard.
The full effect. And so what's happening is that top part that's burning is heating into the fire, and that's also the reason why wet wood is such a problem for starting fires is because the water that's in the wood has to evaporate before the wood can start to burn. And so it's in the same way that I was talking about the bricks acting as a heat sink, the wood itself, the water is acting as a heat sink too.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you feel inside of it, it's not, the bricks still aren't really warm yet.
That's right. Can you guys feel those bricks at home? I mean, find your own bricks and imagine.
touch the hot stove.
Not the hot stove. The point is the stove is cold right now. Yes. The fun thing about being a guy who fraternizes with balloons is you often have a thing that you can use to differentiate drinks from one another. It has come in really handy, especially like wine glasses and stuff like that, man. Just a little multicolored thing around the stem. It's perfect. You gotta go into the pocket for a second. If you look closely, you can see my lines for the upcoming TLC Macbeth production.
Mm-hmm.
At least the lines that stand right now. I gotta talk to the director.
David Icarus.
Oh, there we go. I'm just gonna drive y'all crazy with the inverting phone.
Just turn it back and forth. Landscape, portrait, landscape.
Just like to keep you all on your toes.
So now what I'm kind of doing as I'm adding the kindling is I'm trying to create kind of a funnel that's drawing the air up through the center, and also adding basically panels around the side. So when I put this in on the side of it, what I'm doing is I'm creating a surface that will be able to burn. So it'll absorb the heat from the fire, it'll start to burn, and it'll be reflecting that heat back into the fire in a way that the brick wall wouldn't. And so that's kind of what you want to do, is you want to build up around the fire so that the middle of it can get hotter and hotter and hotter, and eventually have enough heat in it that you can start to burn fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Which works exceptionally well with like pallet wood, where you have these sort of like flat panels.
Oh my gosh. If you guys have not been to a good pallet bonfire, you are missing out. You want to talk about something that's got plenty of feel in it, but also because all of the different slats and the gaps make it really, really easy for a lot of airflow to cause those things to catch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's magic. Oh, I remember it was back in my Liberty University days in rural Virginia. One of our campus pastors, it was sort of like an end of the year. Well, as much of a rager as you can have when there's only grape juice on tap. But he would just load up the backyard gravel pit with just pallets, and every 10 minutes just come by and like throw another pallet on, throw another pallet on. It's great. If you got a friend who works in a warehouse, tell him to hook you up.
Mm-hmm.
Although, don't bring it to the campsite; they will not. You'll get in trouble with that.
Yeah.
That's too much.
Well, you can break them down, but that's its own whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's don't hurt yourself with nails and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you try and bring a whole pallet not broken down out to a campsite, especially one that has designated fire pits, they're not gonna thank you for it. So
Nope.
Don't do that.
It won't fit. The pallet is too big.
Well, it's too big.
I literally watched that the other day. It was so great.
My
My spoon is too big.
That's old internet.
Oh, I know it. I remember watching that during my Liberty days, which, gosh, that dates me, don't it?
So once you have a fire going like this, there's kind of like in betweens. So like the dividing line between kindling and fuel isn't as hard of a dividing line as people might think. So like something that's like this thick, it's not quite fuel, but it's not quite kindling either. But this is kind of the way that you start to build the fire up in order to be able to have it accept fuel rather than just jumping straight to a log that you throw on the fire. You're gradually increasing the size of the stuff that you're putting on.
That's right. There's a finesse to it. There's an art.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about learning to work with nature here and learning how much fuel your current level of fire can bear. Oh, we're getting some good crackling now.
Mhm.
All right, Mr. Kip. Oh, shit.
Also, not. Have we had any joiners yet, or are we still?
We go. I mean,
pipeline?
we got McMo in the channel here
Okay.
so far at this point. But tell us, Mr. Chemical Engineer, why does it crackle?
Ooh, that's a good question. Why do you think it crackles?
Oh, why do I think it crackles? I'm guessing those are pockets of air inside the wood.
Yep.
Oh,
So
pulled that one out of my butt nugget.
what'll happen?
Well, that's a butt nugget pulled out of my butt. Or it's not a nugget because it's air.
Increasing levels of ridiculousness. So what's happening at I mentioned the pyrolysis before. What's happening as the wood is pyrolyzing, it's not just turning into wood gas. There's the sap is turning into a more liquid form, and it's trying to flow through the pores of the grain of the wood. And so what'll happen sometimes is you'll have it's trying to flow through, and some of it'll get stuck. And so the cracks that you're hearing are when you get pockets caused from the grain of the wood getting stuck up by either sap or water or some other constraint, some sort of collapse. And then the air inside of that getting heated up and having to explode back out from inside of the wood. So
Sap's boiling? It
Sap's
does do
boiling.
that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're lucky enough, if you can see close enough, you can see it kind of bubbling up.
Well, usually it's just water that you see.
Yeah.
That is actually something that I have not done yet that I really want to do at some point, though, is get wood that's very sap heavy. And then there's a way of extracting that resin. And it's really, really useful for a whole bunch of different stuff. For like medicinal balms, for helping to seal parts of a boat. Like there's a ton of uses for extracting sap from wood that we just don't use a lot nowadays because there's all like petroleum products that serve the same sort of functions. So it's expense wise not necessarily worth it, but it's one of those things that I want to do so that I'm keeping that knowledge live, and I can in the event that we run out of petroleum or Strait of Hormuz never reopens, whatever, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna power all of our cars with pine sap.
Probably wood gas, if anything. There were people. I don't know if it was so much during the 1970s, but there have been cases where people will convert their cars to be able to run off of wood gas instead of
that is rad.
gasoline. Yeah,
yeah.
They have basically like a little charcoal burner that sits in the bed of their truck, and that charcoal burner is feeding the wood gas from the charcoal generation into the internal combustion engine of the truck, and that allows it to go. So,
fun fact, Me Without You, whose songs are a frequent fixture at the PNW campsites. Their tour bus famously ran on leftover grease from restaurants that they would scavenge.
Biodiesel.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's another fun one. Now we're really, really going.
Got ourselves a fire, ladies and gentlemen.
So one other note about, so now the inside parts of the bricks are probably pretty hot. But what's going to happen?
Let's check and find out.
It's not. But if you touch the outside still, it's still probably going to be pretty cold. It's still going to be about the same temperatures when we started.
I try and show you, but it's dark on the outside.
So as the fire goes for longer and longer, the heat is going to penetrate through the bricks, and then the outside's going to get hot. And so probably not too hot, but you do have to keep that in mind that whenever
show you how high this thing is rising. And remember, this is it's probably good. About what would you say? This is a cubit's worth of bricks high. Close to it.
I forget what the actual measurements.
Actually, probably not quite. It's about 18 inches, so probably like a foot and change. So that means we're getting 3 feet high flames.
By the way, like first of all, these are not fire bricks, which you're technically not supposed to do, but I haven't had any issues with them. So you can get away with using regular bricks to make something like this. And this was way, way cheaper than an equivalent metal one. I used to have a metal fire pit and it just completely rotted out the bottom. And that was, I think, $100, and this is like $20 worth of bricks. So if you want to make a fire pit for yourself in your backyard, highly recommend. If anybody in the corner wants like the plans for this, I would be more than happy to share. But it's super easy to build. It's super easy.
That's right. NAFSAT is in the danger zone. Place your bets for how long before the thing catches.
That's why I touched it, was to make sure it wasn't getting too hot, which thankfully it's not.
This is why. This is why you invest in nerdy cosplay parades like I do. This way,
you gotta keep
keeps your hair out of the way without providing too much of a fuel for the fire to catch.
Wouldn't that be embarrassing?
Oh.
Burn my hat on
live
TV.
It would make for real good YouTube, though. Okay, it would.
That'd be a TLC highlight. Right?
How many times do you think my clothes have caught on fire?
I hope 0.
It's not 0.
Oh dear. I'm not even burn anything for this one, just because I have so much scrap wood from busting pallets that I just want to go through it. Make a good little fire. But now that that's going, so the other thing that I wanted to share with TLC, there is a fun little exercise that you can turn into a competition that I wanted to share if folks want to try.
Yes.
And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I have a special device. Also fairly inexpensive and a really, really good backpacking tool. So this is a little camp stove.
Okay, let's see here.
So
bring
it's
a
a
little
bunch
closer
of,
to the. Yeah.
So it's a bunch of little pieces, aluminum pieces or steel pieces, actually, I think, that fit into this tiny little bag here.
Mm-hmm.
And when we assemble them, which is, let me turn on the porch light.
I know I have an.
I turn on the porch light. It's probably a little easier to see.
Yeah, I know I've got a. Oh, look at this is really. Really waking up.
Take this and assemble it. Four side pieces that all link together. As you put the side pieces together, you put the bottom in.
Let's see, for those of you familiar with the waffle blocks from kindergarten, it's like this, only made out of metal.
Yep.
Looks like a rook chess piece. Look at that baby. She's so tall.
And then the top.
Important thing to remember, so many campfire and camping activities are way easier if you remember to do them during the daytime.
Yes. It becomes much harder when you can't see what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
And also, just a simple, like one really, really important piece of kit that's worth getting between now and the Greater Aggression Protocol is just a good headlamp.
Yes. All right, so we're going to use this as our stand aside thing. What we're going to try and do is we are going to
What?
we are going to try and boil over a pot of soapy water as quickly as we can.
Okay.
And so this is a fun little competition that I learned back in Boy Scouts, where you have to build a fire, and the time from when you light the match to when it boils over has to be as short as possible. And you can do whatever you want to as it's going, but that's the time that you're being measured by. It's from when you light the match to when it boils over. How quickly can you have that happen? So we're gonna time ourselves here. Get some cardboard. And I'm cheating because I have a stove. Usually you do this on just regular ground.
Mm-hmm.
Let me also move the log out of the way so that way.
Yeah. Back to square one. We've got our tinder. We've got our kindling.
So the fun thing with this is that the walls for this will heat up very quickly and then start re-radiating that heat back in very, very quickly.
Cardboard tinder.
The timer.
I don't have a timer now.
Oh,
I'm live. Oh, we are. Okay, 46:30
okay.
is when we
46:30.
started.
Already went out.
No backseats.
No backsies.
No do-overs.
No do-overs. We're going live.
Right.
Pieces. Smothered part of it, but it should be fine.
Trust the re-radiation of the heat.
And once the cardboard starts to catch, we'll start to put on more pieces of.
We are 90 seconds along at this point. We are applying the water. Make sure we keep this camera on to watch the pot boil, like mother told you.
Watch pot never boils. So the fun thing with this one is you want to use relatively small stuff that can fit in this opening here to fuel it, but you can take like longer pieces, and then as they burn, you can like slowly push them in. Is the way this particular camp stove works. So I'm waiting for the fire to start to kick up a bit more before I put it in the next piece.
Yeah. Patience, patience. Unless you forget, we do have a real fire going over here as well.
Not
It's so
completely
pretty. Oh, and we're starting to see our little campfire stove perk up.
Mm-hmm. Once it gets going, it's solid.
So unstoppable. We're gonna burn this whole neighborhood down.
To the point that you're starting to see afterburners come up around the stove.
Kick in the afterburners, Goose.
Mhm.
Kick the tires and light the fires.
Now, the pops that you might hear from a metal stove are slightly different than the pops that you're hearing from the wood in the fire. Those are because of the thermal expansion of the metal sheet itself, and so it's actually like shifting. There's it's hard to explain that without going into material science, but basically there's like crystalline structures that are present in the metal and that are like shifting past each other slightly. That's why you're hearing pops.
So a fun bit of nonsense about metal expanding and contracting based on the heat or cold. There was one point where, actually, where I was just coming home from not Boy Scouts, but my own equivalent, the Civil Air Patrol, and I came home to find that we had, I think we were in the process of like replacing the muffler on our car, and my dad had gone out and bought a new muffler, and we assumed he was going to get taken care of while we were gone, and we came back to find like the house full of this like horrid, acrid smell, and it turns out that he had bought the muffler. And the connector piece did not quite fit the car. And so we came home to find the muffler in the freezer and the connector tube that's supposed to connect the muffler to the car in the oven. So he was trying to freeze the muffler so it would contract just enough that would fit inside of the connector that it was expanding in the oven so he could then like flick it onto the car. Because that was much simpler than going back to AutoZone for the properly fitted parts.
Oh, man. I'd talk shit, but I've probably done at least as silly of things in my maintenance career.
This and frankly, I'm pretty sure this is the sort of thing that like as soon as you all become have kids, you will totally understand. It's such a dad thing to do. Yeah, that same car had other issues. There was one point where we had to take it to the mechanic. It was like dead in the water, and so we had the tiny little like 2-door Toyota Tercel, which was broken. And then because I come from a massive family, we had the family 15-passenger van. My dad was like, "I'm not gonna pay for a tow truck," and so he towed it at about 2:00 in the morning because that's when you're not likely to be too much of a bother. Towed it using a bunch of not bungee cords, but auto tow straps from the house to the dealership. And I was just driving through my old hometown the other day, and I rediscovered how far away our house is from the auto shop. It was not close, friends. It was not close at all.
But did he get there?
Oh, he got there. He got there.
Nope, we're starting to boil.
Oh.
So, but it's not. So,
remember,
the challenge
boil over.
To boil over has to, and that's why you put a little bit of soap in it. It helps it with that a little bit, because otherwise you have to put like starch or something in there. Come on, you can do it.
You'll also, frankly, just have to take word for us because the fire is underneath, not on top of the pot, so you can't actually see any of the boiling action at all.
Also, it's cheating to put a lid on it. Has to be able to boil over. And like part of the fun with that is that when it boils over, if you have just a fire in a fire pit, it'll help to put that fire out or like bring it back down again. So the point of this is how good of a fire, like how quickly can you make a fire that's hot enough to boil water? And so, because I mean that's
the main thing you want to do with a fire.
Yeah,
like
one of the main things.
Right. Yeah. Especially if you're procuring water on site, you don't want to just drink stuff straight from the creek. You gotta boil that sucker. And the higher up you are in altitude, the longer you need to boil it because what is it? Water boils faster at higher elevation,
lower temperatures. Which ends up also meaning that it boils faster, but the temperature. So
wait. Water boils faster at lower temperatures.
Well, it takes less time for you to get up to that boiling temperature. if you are like, so if I have to go from 32 to 200, that's faster than if I have to go from 32 to 212.
So you're saying the higher in altitude, the lower the boiling temperature is.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's why it boils faster.
Yep.
And that's because of the amount of atmosphere.
Yes. So what's happening when something is boiling? Water always will have some partial vapor pressure, is what it's referred to. And I'll come back to black body radiation because I just realized I never explained what that actually meant. So there's always some partial vapor pressure, is what it's referred to as when you have water. So if I like even the water out in the Sound right now, that's like 60, like it's probably 65-ish, maybe a little colder. That water is pushing water vapor into the atmosphere. And it's not very much because it's pretty cold. But as water starts to heat up, there's more and more pressure associated with it. And so what boiling actually means is that the vapor pressure of the liquid equals the atmospheric pressure trying to hold that vapor in.
Okay.
And so that it's so hot that it's spontaneously turning into a vapor and then bubbling out.
So if you're trying to, especially if you're trying to sterilize water so it's safe to drink,
Mm-hmm.
if you are roughly at sea level, you want to boil it for 5 minutes or 8 minutes?
5 minutes.
Okay, yeah, 5 minutes. And I believe it is for every 1,000 feet of elevation, you want to add a minute to your boiling time. Is the general rule of thumb?
That sounds about right.
So if you're standard, like if you're camping at sea level and you need to sterilize some water for cooking and drinking and all that good stuff, then you want to boil it for 5 minutes. If you are, say, at the Paradise parking lots in Mount Rainier, which is about 5,000 feet up above sea level, that means you want to boil your water for about 10 minutes before you are ready to drink it. But you're also in the parking lot next to the visitor center, so there's probably some water fountains. Yeah.
Plenty of potable water there.
Yeah. Potable or potable?
I've always said potable.
I think you're wrong, but that's fine.
Potable, potent potables.
Classic Jeopardy category. Well, not the classic one. That was first like the joke one from SNL.
Yeah. The Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
So it is boiling, but I don't know why the soap isn't helping it to boil over.
I mean,
I don't know if I can like get it under the light. You can see it's steaming pretty good. You can see that.
okay, I think we kind of see a little bit of the bubbles. Do you just not put enough in there? Because I mean,
No,
it'll take a lot. Won't take a lot for it to actually really go, because you want it to go over the edge.
Well, because
that's what boiling over is.
Yeah. So soap is a surfactant, so it should be enough. I mean, I'll give a little squirt. Give another big one at it.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Right. More soap.
go run for a second and grab my headlamp just so we have a handy spotlight available for us. Here you go. I'll make you look at me so you don't get too much of a street view so you can get too naughty. But you can see the clouds above, which again are going to do the work of keeping some of that heat in that would otherwise dissipate all the way into space. And yes, I am the kind of guy who just keeps his headlamp in the door pocket of his car, because you never know when you're going to need some light. Smoking up good, I see.
Yeah, I think it's too wet. Is the problem.
Uh,
It starts to get going.
oh my gosh, look at how soapy that is. It's glowing blue. That's beautiful.
This be a lesson in why you should always make sure you're using dry.
Yep. So again, make sure that you are, if you're planning on camping and being responsible for the fire, grab your wood now and make sure it's got some time to dry out.
Once you get it going, you really just throw stuff in there.
Exactly. Yeah. We haven't hardly paid any attention at all to this beauty. Let it take care of its own business. So camera's having some fun with the colors in the sky. It's turning up real blue on the screen. Look at that. Oh, that's pretty. That's real pretty.
What we got in the chat?
Oh, it's just us right now.
Did you see that Paul was commenting under Pearl's or just Pearly Things' recent thing with Richard Rowland.
I did not go. So, were you watching the video?
I was watching a little bit of it, and I was just like scrolling through the comments as I was watching it. I was like, Paul's TLC posting. He's Luke posting. There we go.
He's what posting?
He's Luke posting.
Luke posting. Oh, okay. Like using that as his notebook.
Although not with so much timestamps.
Yeah. Okay. Which to be fair, I do that a lot as well. Especially when I find a good like OG Rose video to lock into. I like this. Oh, and also, gosh, yeah, poor Steve Skojak is trying to figure out on Kale and Steve's Monitoring the Situation podcast. It's a couple of them I've gotten like very, very into, and I'm just like, oh shoot, I left like 15 comments. And then they solicited questions from the audience, and Steve has to be like, and frequent commenter gets tied.
I mean, it's good to be acknowledged.
No. Although I am bummed they did not grab the question I really wanted them to ask, because specifically they were doing their Alien episode.
Okay.
And I asked the question because I liked my Pacific Northwest field trips, and I'm pretty sure like one of the first like post World War II, like I guess now we're calling them UAP sightings, was out here. And part of me is like, well, I want to go kind of check it out and see what's what. But I also know that, or at least, well, no is such a freighted term in this kind of like field of inquiry. But from testimonies, it seems like that's the sort of thing where like these encounters are the sorts of things that have the potential to linger with you if you like actually like see something. There's a lot of these things that sort of like follow you home. And so I was kind of curious what they thought about what to make of that phenomena. The question of like, is it wise to go visit these the alleged sites or alleged hauntings or whatever you want to call them? What are the info hazards to be aware of? Any recommendations for what should be done as forms of spiritual or psychic protection?
Do they have any good answers for you? Or?
No, they didn't answer that question. And that's, like I said, that's the one I wish they had said something about. But I don't know. Do we need to go see the Spielberg movie when it comes out before Ingression?
I mean, I'm not planning to.
Not planning to?
No. I'm more focused on. So, do you know anything about the Amazing Digital Circus?
No, but I am curious just on the virtue of the name alone.
It is they're doing a theatrical release this coming weekend. But they were doing a relatively indie YouTube animated series.
Okay.
And the premise of it is humans that get put into this digital space without, and they can't get out. They don't remember the name. They remember like some things about who they were before they came in. And also, this thing is boiling. Like, I don't know why it's not boiling over. It's really boiling. It's not.
This is why you scrubbed out of Boy Scouts, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. But yeah, so the
Amazing Digital Circus, it's a web cartoon about folks who get digitized and forget the world outside of their digitized existence.
Well, at least forget their names.
Okay.
They still remember like what they did and kind of who they were, and still retain aspects of their personality. And then there's an AI who seems to be responsible for trying to keep them sane, trying to keep them from abstracting.
Okay.
And does so by having them go on these wacky, silly adventures.
Okay.
So,
okay, it's kind of an interesting premise. And again, like by abstracting, they're like remembering the world outside of the digitization.
Not exactly.
Not exactly.
They're going insane in a very particular way.
Okay.
Like and it's not exactly clear what it means for them to abstract.
Okay.
But basically, they're losing the will to continue existing inside of this digital space.
Mm.
And as a consequence, they turn into these. It's called abstracting because they're turning into these black blobs
Okay.
that have kind of fuzzy edges. Like they're polygonal, but the polygons are like jittering around the border of where they are, and they have all of these psychedelic rainbow eyes over their whole body.
Okay.
And I'm really curious to see where it gets taken. And like I'll be open about my level of chuddery for a moment. It's a very Troon-coded show.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Gooseworks, the creator, is trans, and like there's a couple of references to that within the show. Not like to his transness specifically, but like there's one part of the show where one of the characters talks about what do you think? I'm like an egg that needs to be cracked, which is within that sphere.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's really an important work within the perspective of people feel lost in the world. And they don't always find productive ways to deal with that lost feeling, but that doesn't mean that the feeling is invalid. It doesn't mean that it's not something that should be taken seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Like I don't want to, from where I sit, I don't want to help people to mutilate themselves. I don't want to like. But the feelings that are causing people to engage in that kind of behavior are very real.
Mm-hmm.
And if those feelings are not properly acknowledged and properly embraced, then you're going to continue to have issues where people are engaging with and finding very destructive ways of trying to handle that for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when there's ready-made answers being provided to them by other people who have also felt alienated but have found a particular way of coping with that alienation that I think ends up being at best hedonistic and at worst controlling and very destructive towards others. But it's a really hard thing to balance because when people start going down that road, they start to believe that like any contradiction against the things that they believe, the things that they understand as true, is inherently evil. It's like, no, it's not. It's not.
That kind of betrays a presumption of, I don't know, like coherence. Mm-hmm. That like, well, first off, like capital T truth is something that can be completely contained within the human mind. Mm-hmm. And I'm like you describing the sense of kind of like lack of fit with the digital world, which again, like I just said, like it's a compelling premise. This is one of the frustrating things about hanging with you and President Foxman is you guys have such offbeat and interesting taste in media. And you have not yet let me down since, from a Freerin to a Chainsaw Man to I am working just got started with Jujutsu Kaisen now.
Mm-hmm. That's what I still need to finish.
Yeah. Like I'm just getting started. Like I just saw the one guy's eyes for the first time. But yeah, no, like phenomenal things they're playing around with. But like specifically this sense of lostness, kind of like the first kind of like thing I kind of latch onto is the famous Augustine quote about how our hearts are speaking in a prayer to God about how oh God, our hearts are restless until they find rest in thee. It's the sense that like, and Augustine's this guy who's like famously like a theologian, philosopher of like love, the idea that we've been in a sense like given this like capacity for love that is too big to be satisfied by any earthly thing is his way of reckoning the world. So in a sense, like, yeah, we're like, I'm sure you guys have heard like C.S. Lewis talk about this as well, the idea that like we are made for things bigger than this world can contain. That's sort of like their only conclusion based off of their own kind of like sense of disorientation within the world. And I don't know, like, how do you sit with an idea of the fact that, yeah, you're stuck with longings, you're stuck with desires that you can like like experience some temporary satiation of those desires, but they're pointing to something like bigger.
Well, and then how, when you think that you can see something that's bigger than what people's current desires and satiation of them are pointing towards, how do you get them to, and not even like, how do you force, not how do you force them to agree with you? How do you force them to see what you're seeing? But like, how do you introduce an idea to them of that there is potentially something more than what they're currently seeing when they are so firmly like embedded in a particular belief system currently, where they, and especially when that belief system is a very totalizing one, where it's saying that there's nothing outside of this is what is. Like, how do you, like, I don't, it's like there but for the grace of God go I kind of a thing. Like, I don't know why I am open in the ways that I'm open, and I don't know how to, in an abstract way, communicate with other people to help them become open to the, like, and not even that they necessarily have to agree that what I have is the truth, but just to see the same thing that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Because like if they see what I'm seeing and they still believe what they believe, you know what? I'm cool with that. But I mean, I'm not cool with that. But like I can respect that in a way that's different than I can't really respect it if they're choosing to do a certain thing without actually understanding what it is that I'm trying to communicate to them.
Yeah. It's, I mean, there's a certain, like, if you're in an argument with somebody and you know when they are dismissing you without understanding what you're trying to get at, it's one thing for them to kind of like grasp what you're getting at, to be able to kind of like see the thing you're pointing at and be like, okay, I get what you're pointing at. I just don't think that's quite as satisfying as you think it is.
Right.
There's
That's
different, there's different from like when you're pointing at something that's outside of, say, another's ideological box, and they're just like, no, it's definitionally nothing can exist outside of this box I've constructed.
Yes. But like, how do you actually get somebody, like, unless they already understand their box as something that has things outside of it? Like, I don't know how you, how do you get somebody from one point to the other? And I don't think that you can, but I don't know what it means for someone to get from one side of that to the other.
And I like, this is already at the point where I'm just like, this is a frustrating conversation because I kind of try as a discipline to not engage too much in hypotheticals, just because like I like, it's hard enough dealing with like the very specific and concrete things, and for me, like, context is everything. But if we're thinking about kind of like general heuristics for what to do, like if you're dealing with somebody who's like, based on your construal, your reckoning is stuck inside of an ideological box, then I don't know, like maybe it's like part of the task, insofar as you feel compelled to try and help somebody with a problem you think you can help them with. Because again, like we're all trying to. I mean, like insofar as we believe that there's such a thing as like a common good that transcends my own subjectivity. Like there's a good that's binding and like lays claims both upon myself but upon everyone else as well. Yeah, and again, like we're trying to do this, but like it's if you come across somebody who's like, to your mind, like stuck inside of an ideological box, maybe the point, like if the box is so rigid, maybe the task is less continually trying to get them to see past the box and start to talk about the box instead.
Correct.
It's like, look, we can't get anywhere until you recognize you're in a straitjacket. Of course, then after you start to do things like this for all, you recognize like, oh no, I'm also in my own kind of straitjacket.
But once you start to recognize that, you can at least start to see what does exist outside of you. And that's I think, like, I don't know how to get somebody else to that place where they can start to recognize that there are things outside of their box. And it's also like there's going to be certain things that are so far beyond their immediate capacity to comprehend that they're just not going to be able to get there in a single jump. Like it's and you have, if you are somebody who does see way farther ahead than the person that you're talking to, you have to be patient. You have to carefully, gently, patiently guide them along that path, and to still have a degree of humility that the path that you are so confident in, that there might be something that you're missing still. Like there probably isn't, but there might be. Like especially if you're an adult working with kids, like you probably know in a way that they don't.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily going to buy that.
Oh my gosh, try working with middle schoolers, man. Hey, the worst is when you deal with middle schoolers who like there is like, and again, like I didn't do it long enough to really get like a as good of a kind of like developed map of, you know, approximate map of like middle schooler experience. But that was the thing that was like every year was getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And there's certain kinds of moments where, because you know, like in like middle school, you start to like you grow into this sort of like natural level of skepticism.
Yeah.
Like you're starting to notice like hypocrisy becomes a huge deal to you. You start to see it. You start to notice inconsistencies. You start to like feel this certain like sense of like justice in an unfair world. Like every middle schooler has their first Job experience of like the world is not right and it owes me something. And half the time I'm dealing with like, you know, because you know I was taught them like, you know, religion in a faith-based school, and like half the time there's times where they just have like questions, and I'm just like, you have an excellent question. The problem is there are excellent answers to your questions, but those answers are so boring, you're not going to care.
Yeah.
Like I can give you the answer. It'll take 10 minutes, but I'm going to completely lose you. And you're going to think, oh, he's got nothing to say to this. It's like, no, you are smart enough to notice to ask the good questions, but you're not smart enough to be able to metabolize the answers.
That's really good. That's really good.
And I'm sure that frankly happens to all of us. It's
yeah. It certainly does. Well, and it's not necessarily that you're incapable of metabolizing the answer, it's that you're incapable of metabolizing the answer on the time scale that you're expecting to be able to metabolize the answer relative to the question that you're asking.
Yes.
Like I asked this question in 5 seconds, you should be able to give me an answer in 5 seconds.
No, that was the other thing also, is that like for them, they were still stuck. Like they're for the most part, their frame of knowledge was simply like what counts as smart is how quickly you can recall the correct facts. And so trying to introduce them to like, well, no, thinking is a process. And I'm trying to kind of like model how you start to like move from, I have a question, how do I deal with my uncertainty? How do I investigate this in a way that's responsible and fair to, you know, all these sorts of things. And also recognizing that like your answers aren't always as clear cut, because also again, like teaching religion to middle schoolers, where you're going from like basically like as kids, you're given like the stories at the level of myth, and you're like, this just is how it is. And once you get to middle school, you start to be like, okay, now it's time to talk about like the process of history, you know, like how human beings record facts and how myths relate to history and how we live with the difference between those two realities. And the question of like, what's the nature of these, you know, the Judeo-Christian texts that we've received, you know, my particular case. And again, part of the problem is like, if the answers are complicated, they just want you to spit out the right fact that solves all of their problems. Again, like every middle schooler, they're becoming Job for the first time, and like Job was not missing a single data point. Like it was a whole worldview transformation that he had to undergo.
Might be a little spicy, but I wonder if anybody's ever like thoroughly looked at the Bible through the lens of what's the potential of it being sort of missionaria protectiva from Dune work.
Mhm. I'm sure. Well, there's got to be some autist out there that has, honestly.
Probably.
I'm sure it's on there somewhere. But and then specifically the missionary protectiva. That's, if I'm remembering correctly, that's the Bene Gesserit basically creating this myth, seeding into cultures, so that they could manipulate those cultures to their advantage should they need to.
Yep.
But I mean, like when you ask that, and kind of like my first thought kind of goes to the folks that say that like you know it's all like a Constantinian psyop. As soon as like Constantine the Emperor converted to Christianity, made it the official religion and whatnot, and he's the guy that canonized the Bible and all that like Da Vinci Code stuff. And part of me is like just looking at like the text that the Emperor like supposedly canonized in order to subdue and tame this wild and subversive religion. Like that's like so much of the Bible, like particularly like the New Testament canon that he's supposed to be allegedly responsible for, according to the conspiracy theory, like is incredibly critical of the empire. Like calls into account like being in like every single genre. I mean, like the Gospels are very ambivalent towards the empire. They're not quite as like burn it all down like you'd be worried about. But there's a certain sort of kind of like indifference recognition of a higher power that is going to destroy the empire if it gets out of line. I mean, the Book of Revelation, like if I were the empire, like the emperor, and I like read that book, I can't imagine leaving that in the Bible. Good golly.
Well, and then part of the question becomes like, what if you're trying to edit it? Like, what can you reasonably take out without people being completely up in arms? Like, if that is something that's been well established as canon, like, you're not going to be able to really play around with that as much. But you can potentially play around with things around that. But yeah, I don't.
So what you're saying is specifically the Eastern Orthodox branch of Christianity is an imperial psyop.
I am curious how much, to what degree, Paul is a Jewish psyop.
I've heard this a couple times. Can you kind of like lay that one out for me just a little bit more?
Well, just and this is something that
Grimm what's the function of this? Yeah, I know Grimm has mentioned this as well. What's the function of the psyop? Like what do you like what are you concerned that Paul specifically is doing that counter is trying to, I guess, like again, like subdue or tame the original kind of like Jesus texts?
Basically, that he's trying to find, because there's a fairly significant supremacist nature to Judaic thought, and so it's trying to find some way. At least this is the theory of like, how do we keep a level of control over this new religion that's cropping up.
See, I hear that, and I feel like Paul is the one who does the most to kind of undermine any kind of potential Hebraic supremacy that you're seeing. Because Paul is the apostle to the Gentiles. He is the one, like he's the one who's kind of completely like continually being kind of like battered down. Like he famously gets into a big conflict with Peter. He does a very uneasy relationship with James, the apostle of Jerusalem. And it's over this issue of insisting that Jews and Gentiles eat together. So, and that's like very much like him kind of like forcing in a kind of both symbolic and liturgical way, like forcing the issue of them not being separated, but being brought together into one body and on one equal plane.
And there's other stuff from him too that, like, love is patient, love is kind.
Mhm.
Like, that hits me to my core when I read that. Like, it's in my house above my fireplace.
Mm.
It's a Chinese script version of that, but it's that verse. Like,
Mhm.
that, like,
That's
I don't want to just be like, no, Paul is a shit piece of, like, because that's not true either.
uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
it's the part that is like, oh, you just have to believe in Jesus. That's all you have to do. And it's like, I don't, like, that to me is psyop.
Okay.
Because it's not that you're supposed to believe that Jesus is the Savior. It's that you're supposed to follow in his footsteps. You're supposed to follow his example.
Mhm.
And so, like, part of this is definitely me having been psyoped, failing my own savings throws
Uh-huh.
from what other people have said, and not, I don't think, fully grasping the depth of what it is that they're trying to get at.
Mhm.
But it is also something that's like, I've started to see psyops a bit more clearly, and so that particular one of, like, oh yeah, just believe Jesus is your savior and you're saved. It's
Mhm.
like, I don't buy that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the sort of like one of the phrases I think is sort of like easy believism. I think that's sort of like a specifically kind of like American folk reading of what's a much thicker concept for Paul. I mean, like faith is a thing that binds you into a body.
Yeah.
And it is, and part of that is being bound into a fellowship that is, um, you are being, inducted into a people who are along the way. So there's this common vision, this common purpose, this common direction. Paul's also the guy who is saying, like, follow me as I follow Christ.
Mhm.
And so there is this presumption that, like, there is a path and you can remain on it, you can follow it well, you can follow it poorly, you can fall off of the path.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. And that was one of the, like, in a private message I sent recently, was this idea of, like, how did I phrase it? It was like, you have to practice and understand, and practice in order to understand, and understand in order to practice.
yes. Yeah.
And, like, if you are not doing that, then you're missing the point.
Mhm.
And that's, I mean, I think that especially with the ortho bro stuff that Chris has been pointing at recently, it's like, you're so focused on whether you're right that you're not caring about whether you're doing what you ought to with that rightness.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, like, that doesn't, like, every person is on their own journey is the other part of it too.
Mhm.
You're not necessarily trying to be condemning towards others because they can't quite see where they are, because, well, for one, you might not actually be seeing as accurately as you think you are.
Yeah.
They might be further along the path than you, and you just think that they're behind you.
Yeah.
But even if they are behind you, like, you know, and it's not, and it's not even necessarily condemnation per se. It's like, how do you engage with them in a way that acknowledges where they're at and helps them to see that, like, this, like, I had a two-person estuary yesterday.
Hey,
Matt doesn't want to hang out with us. He's too cool.
it had to work.
And one of the things that came up was this idea of, like, do you, when you're saying that you want something, do you want it or do you just want the outcome? Because generally speaking, if you're saying I want something, it means that you're going to have to put in some level of effort in order to achieve that thing. And like the main example that comes to mind for me, just because I spent so much time trying to get good, was League of Legends. And I had friends who wanted to be a higher rank, and I would watch their games because I was slightly higher ranked than they were. And I'd be like, okay, here are some very particular things that are mistakes that you're making that if you improve them, they would probably help you improve your rank. And the response that I tended to get from them was like, no, that's not what the problem is. Like, I don't need to worry about that. It's like, bro, you asked me for my help. You asked for me to point out what it was that might be holding you back. And what you were really looking for me to do was just to say, oh yeah, it is totally your teammates that are holding you back, bro. Like, you're just getting bad luck with who it is that's getting paired with you in your games. It has nothing to do with your own play or your own understanding of the game. It's like, if you want to get good, you have to actually make a concerted effort to understand what it is that's holding you back. And it's probably you. It's probably parts of you, and you have to be willing to change those. Because if you don't, then you're going to stay stagnant. You're going to stay where you are.
Yeah. But I can't put any kind of percentage point on this, but I mean, well, Jesus said, like, narrow is the path and few that walk down it. It's like most people who say they want to get good really just want to bitch.
Yep.
And because it's the talk portion of change, talking yourself into adopting a new idea, thinking about things, analyzing, like that's the easiest part always, like thinking and then talking. Like you can do that without without leaving our campfire chairs. It's wonderful. It's magic. It's so easy. We have solved all of the world's problems in the last three Pacific Northwest campouts. That's why we are such boosters for the Greater Regional Aggression Protocol.
I hear Minnesota's potentially trying to join us too, by the way.
I just got a email from a Minnesota guy who's looking for something. Actually, two this morning. Arkansas and Minnesota. So
they might not be doing it for this one, but they might be doing it for the August.
I mean, I know there are plenty of people in Minnesota, although I also have no idea how big Minnesota is. So but yeah, no. If you think we get nothing done on a typical TLC live stream, imagine how much less we get done around a campfire when we're drinking together.
We do get to talk about spicier things, though, because we don't have to worry about other people watching and seeing. That's another thing. Okay, I'll talk about black body radiation.
Okay, yeah, do it up.
So, when you have an object that has light shining onto it, there's a certain amount of that light that is absorbed by it and a certain amount of it that's reflected back out. So the idea with a black body is that it is something that absorbs all of the light that's coming into it and is not reflecting any of the light that's coming off. And so the only light that's coming off of it is the light that's due to its temperature. And so the way that scientists were able to approximate that was with an oven that had a very small pinhole. So there wasn't really much light going into the oven, and the only light coming out of the oven was the light being generated from the heat of the oven. So that's why it's called black body radiation, is because it's a particular curve of energy as a function of frequency. So like mostly infrared light coming off of a fire with a decent amount of visible, and then as it gets hotter, more and more visible light. And then it, like, the frequency spectrum shifts into higher and higher frequency as you get hotter and hotter. But it also just, the total area under the curve gets bigger and bigger too. So the reason it's called black body radiation is because it's the temperature energy that's coming off of something that is not in any way interfered with by any light that's reflecting off of it. It's a black body. So it's absorbing light, only sending light back off because of temperature. That's why it's called that.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So it's black like a black hole in the sense, like it's sucking
Exactly.
just about everything in.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's sucking all the light in, and the only light that's coming back off of it again is light because of temperature.
Gotcha.
That's why it's called that.
Okay, gotcha.
Which was not explained to me in my heat transfer class well, and that's why I want to make a point of explaining it here.
This might be the most educational stream that has ever occurred in the TLC, frankly. I mean, seriously, like this has been pretty phenomenal. You're really good at this.
I appreciate that.
But also, my arm's getting tired. I feel like we've been streaming for long enough,
We have.
especially since. I mean,
Are we getting comments at all, or is anybody watching this at all?
is anybody here? No, we're not getting a lot of stars. They'll be around on the replay, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see what
I'm
the comments
sure.
say.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's Saturday night. I'm sure they're all busy.
Mhm.
But let's. Oh, let me. Oh, golly, it's a mess. Here we go. Hold on. All right. Remember, be safe, friends. Don't you dare go hollow.
Hey, you got it that time.
Oh. And remember, butt nuggets, we want what's best for you. Regional Aggression Protocol, June 12th through the 14th. Get your asses out there.
Be
It's
there
going
to
to be
be
so
square.
good. All right. Peace.